A dream meeting is about to come true. Estevão Willian, the Brazilian wonderkid nicknamed Messinho, is ready to give his all for Palmeiras when they face Inter Miami in the Club World Cup. But what's even more exciting is that he will be facing his idol, Lionel Messi. Estevão even said that he would run straight to Messi to swap jerseys after the final whistle. Crazy. That's the dream of every kid who loves football, bro. At the age of 18, Estevão is already considered a future star of Brazil. Full of flair, brave, and already predicted to join Chelsea next season. But before that, he wants to give a sweet farewell to Palmeiras. And the match against Messi could be the most historic moment in his young career. Messi is an inspiration. Neymar once gave him support when he missed a penalty. And now, it's time for Estevão to shine on his own. The question is, who do you think will steal the show? Messi or Messinho? Unbelievable! Nicholas Jackson made a scene again at a moment when he should have proven himself. Just 4 minutes after coming off the bench against Flamengo in the Club World Cup, the Senegalese striker was immediately given a red card for a brutal tackle on Ayrton Lucas. This is not the first time, because previously he was also red carded against Newcastle in the Premier League. And this time, the anger of Chelsea fans really exploded. Jackson immediately apologized via social media. He said he was also angry with himself. "There is no excuse. I will learn, develop, and come back stronger," he wrote. But the apology was not enough to cover the disappointment of fans and club legends. Even John Obi Mikel bluntly said, "Stupid mistake. If you were afraid of competing with Delap, you should not play for Chelsea." But interestingly, Enzo Maresca still took the stand. He said this incident would not immediately determine Jackson's future. He knows it's not a good decision for the team, but we're not going to jump to conclusions, Maresca explained. But one thing is clear. The competition in Chelsea's front line is heating up, and Jackson needs to do some quick introspection if he doesn't want to be left behind. Do you think Jackson is still worthy of being Chelsea's main striker? After the 3-1 defeat to Flamengo in the Club World Cup, Chelsea are not only worried about their performance, but are also busy rearranging their massive transfer plans. The name Noni Madueke, who scored 11 goals and 5 assists last season, suddenly entered the sales radar. In fact, this player is one of the shining young stars under Maresca. But everything can change quickly. The Telegraph leaked that Arsenal have eyed Madueke to add options to their attack line. Chelsea themselves have not opened the door wide, but if a fantastic offer comes in, who knows, they will let him go. And what makes it even hotter, Chelsea are said to have moved to get Malik Fofana from Lyon. The 20-year-old winger had crazy statistics last season. 6 goals, 2 assists in the Europa League, and a top 1% ranking in many offensive aspects. The price? Around £45 million. Not cheap, but very promising. Fofana is considered to have a much brighter future and is flexible to play on both wings. It fits perfectly with Enzo Maresca's scheme to build a fast and dynamic team. If Madueke is released and Fofana comes in, this could be Chelsea's smart move before returning to the Champions League next season. Moreover, Maresca is known to like to rearrange his attack composition with new faces. Do you think Madueke should be retained or replaced by Fofana? Chelsea's frontline drama is heating up. Nicholas Jackson, who recently caused a stir with his ridiculous red card during the Club World Cup against Flamengo, is now on the radar of 2 Serie A giants, Juventus and Napoli. But it's not just gossip. Rumors of a swap deal with Dusan Vlahovic are also starting to circulate. Jackson is not a flop, but he was not entirely convincing last season. 10 goals and 5 assists in the Premier League. And after a brutal tackle incident that saw him sent off just 4 minutes after entering the field, his position is starting to waver. Liam Delap is ready to take the opportunity, while Chelsea are still insisting on finding a new striker before September 1st. Sky Sports reports that Juve and Napoli are very interested in Jackson. Napoli? It's understandable because Antonio Conte wants a player who is familiar with the top European atmosphere. But the problem is, Jackson still has 8 years left on his contract. His salary is also high. What does it mean? Chelsea won't let him go for a cheap price? But here's the twist. Juventus could propose a swap, Jackson to Turin, Vlahovic to Stamford Bridge. Vlahovic is now entering the final year of his contract, and negotiations for an extension have stalled. If this is true, it could be one of the most surprising transfers of the summer. But the big question is, are Chelsea really interested in Vlahovic? Do you think a Jackson-Vlahovic swap would be beneficial for Chelsea? Fabrizio Romano has again dropped some surprising news about Chelsea. Not about an instant transfer, but a long-term plan. The Blues are said to be planning the arrival of Emegha as part of the main squad, but only in the summer of 2026. The Strasbourg player impressed last season with 14 goals in League One, and reportedly will remain in France for at least one more season before joining Stamford Bridge. Chelsea have just secured Liam Delap from Ipswich for £30 million and already have Nicholas Jackson as their main option. But Jackson's future is now starting to be shaken. 2 red cards in the last 5 matches, including when he was slaughtered by Flamengo at the Club World Cup, make his position even more vulnerable. In fact, Juventus and Manchester United are reportedly starting to move in on him. If Emegha is really part of Chelsea's long-term project, it means that Maresca is slowly reorganizing the front line. This plan seems smart. Not rushing to buy an expensive striker, but still having a sharp backup for the future. The question now is, if Jackson really leaves next season, who can be the goal guarantee in the front line? With Emegha's increasingly mature performance at the age of 22, and his flexible position, he could be an interesting option. But can he really lift Chelsea's attack line when the time comes? In your opinion, is Chelsea's decision to wait for Emegha until 2026 a good strategy? Or is it just a waste of time? Chelsea are making another breakthrough. After being busy bringing in young talents this summer, now the Blues are ready to poach Brighton's mainstay striker, João Pedro, from Newcastle United's target. Pedro's name has indeed been on the rise since moving from Watford to Brighton last year. With a direct contribution of 17 goals last season, Pedro is considered one of the most promising young strikers in the Premier League. But there is another side that makes this transfer a dilemma. João Pedro's price has indeed dropped drastically, from 100 million to just 60 million pounds, due to an internal conflict with Brighton defender Jan-Paul van Hekken. Although the problem is said to be resolved, it still makes many clubs think twice. But Maresca, he really likes Pedro's playing style. This Brazilian striker is agile, can open up space, and is very flexible, not only relying on his goal instincts, but also being good at helping build attacks from the second line. The problem is, Chelsea can't afford to make a wrong move now. Every transfer must be right on target. The question is Pedro worth buying for a lot of money, even though he has never performed consistently for a full season? Moreover, if they have to beat Newcastle in the negotiation, Chelsea clearly has to spend extra money and big confidence. There is a risk, but the reward is also clear. If Pedro can fit in, he can be a deadly weapon for Chelsea in the Champions League. In your opinion, should we go all in on João Pedro or look for another safer striker? Chelsea have officially withdrawn from the pursuit of talented young winger Yeremy Hernandez. The 22-year-old player from Deportivo La Coruña has been in the spotlight thanks to his impressive performance last season. 15 goals, 5 assists in the Segunda Division. The Blues were aggressive in January, but everything was dashed when Yeremy signed a new contract until 2030. Not only that, he is now the highest paid player in Segunda Division history. Deportivo did not want to lose their biggest asset as they targeted promotion to La Liga. His release clause also skyrocketed, reportedly more than €30 million. Chelsea finally gave up, and ESPN confirmed that the Blues were no longer interested. At 22 years old, Yeremy chose to stay in the second tier for stability, or maybe waiting for a bigger offer. In your opinion, is Yeremy too quickly satisfied, or is he smart because he patiently waited for the right moment?